All right, so now on to grammar and punctuation. Like I told you guys, it's going to be very important that you have a grammatically and mechanically correct resume. You do not want to turn your resume in and have a bunch of glaring, horrible errors in it. It just makes you look unprofessional. And that is a resume that they are going to very quickly push to the side and not look at again. So we definitely want to make sure that our grammar, our punctuation, our mechanics, all that is on point, right? Going to resume, well, it used to be Resume Madness, going to the Resume Cafe, emailing copies of your resume to the Accounting Writing Lab email address and having Jenna or Austin review it. Those are great ways to make sure that you don't have a bunch of grammatical or mechanical errors inside of your resume. So be sure that you're proofreading it, right? You don't want to rely just on spell check to do that for you, and you don't want to rely just on other people to do that for you. I always write something and then I read back through it, and I tend to find mistakes, or I tend to find things that I would like to word different ways, and then I'll send it on to somebody else to look at. So make sure you're proofreading these. You want to proofread these resumes. Don't use the word I. These are not documents where you're going to be speaking in first person, right? These are simply just things you can do. You don't have to use the word I in it. Like, I can use Excel. I can show up on time. I have gotten these awards. You don't want to use the word I. It really is more of an informative document, right? So you want to inform them without being super personal about it. Don't use abbreviations. So say Missouri State University instead of MSU when you are typing things out. You may, now obviously if they're recruiting at the school, they typically know what MSU is, but we also often get confused with another bigger, more famous MSU, right? So if you are applying outside of the state of Missouri, the assumption is not going to be Missouri State, it's going to be something like Michigan State, right? So make sure you state clearly Missouri State University. You want to use consistent and correct punctuation. There is a difference, and most people do not know this. There is a difference between a hyphen and an in dash, right? So a hyphen is used to connect words. So let's say you've got a word that runs over to the next line. A hyphen is going to be used to connect those two words. An in dash is used to connect two things that are related to each other, typically through distance, right? So the easiest way to think of an in dash is to think of it as a substitute kind of for the word through. So 2016 through 2018, that's an in dash. It is different than a hyphen. Make sure you know the difference and that your document is updated to reflect the difference. Oh, sorry, got a little ahead there. All right, so language and proper use of verbs. So this is one of the biggest problems that I find when I am reviewing resumes. I find that students are not using appropriate verb tense. So you want to use different verbs. You don't want to try to repeat the same verb over and over and over again. Make sure that you are finding different ways to say things. It just gets boring, right? You want to use job-specific verbs. So if you're a bank teller, don't just say something like, oh, I handled the money, right? Or I counted the money. What you want to do is you want to be specific about what you did and what you were responsible for. So instead of saying I handled money on a daily basis, you could say something like, I reconciled $12,000 cash drawer daily. Okay? That would be a much better way to say it, and it also gives them a very specific idea of what you did. Okay? Here's the important part. Like I said, this is where I see most of the mistakes on resumes, is in verb tense. So when you are describing duties performed at your current job, the job you currently work at, you want to use present tense of a verb, right? So perform, calculate, collect, those kinds of things. The example above, reconcile $12,000 cash drawer daily, right? When you are describing duties performed in a prior job, use the past tense of that verb, performed, calculated, collected. So that example up above is a good example of a job that I was doing previously. I reconciled $12,000 in cash drawer daily. Okay. So if you're looking for a list of good action verbs that you can use in your resume, that handout that I have posted to Blackboard is pretty thorough list of good action verbs for resumes. So style and format. You want to make sure that your header stands out. It's different font, it's larger, it's an appropriate color. Typically, appropriate color in this class is black and white. Okay, We're not going to have different colors. We're not going to have different templates. It's just going to be black and white, very plain, very boring looking resume. You want to fill the entire page without overcrowding it. Mine, this example you see on the right over here, is pushing it, and it's pushing it very hard. You don't want to overfill, but you also don't want it to be so empty that it looks plain or boring, right? I know I just said that we do want plain and boring, but you don't want it to be so empty that it looks like you don't have much to offer. We will find ways, as we edit and proofread your resumes, we will find ways for you to fill in that white space if you need to. You want to make sure you're using consistent font styles, you're using 1-inch margins, so you don't want, like for instance, I've seen on resumes before, they were trying to fill the page, and up top they've got a size 12 font, and then they get to the bottom and it's size 14, just because they're trying to fill the page. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure everything is consistent, right? So be consistent in your use of italics, in your use of caps, in your use of justifications. So one of the more important things is that on the left side of the page, you keep your most important information. So job titles, names of the businesses you work for, all of those things. On the right-hand side, if you'd like to, you can justify the dates. So the dates that you worked at these jobs. You can see on mine, I don't necessarily do that. I just keep the dates on the same line with my job title, but I do have them justified to the left. Okay, you want to make sure that everything is aligned evenly. These just need to look clean and appealing to look at, right? We want them to be able to pick it up, look at it, and go, oh, yep, this is definitely a resume, and these are definitely the things that I want to ask them about. So just a reminder here, and this is just going to show you kind of an example of what I mean when I say most important is left justified. So you can see here the experience, the job title, all of that, your relevant experience, all of that is justified on the left. And then things that are less important, the dates, the name of, or the town that the job was located in, those are going to be justified towards the right. So that is it for the resume lecture. If you do have any questions or comments, concerns, please feel free to contact me. Like I said, please feel free to email copies of your resume to the Accounting Writing Lab, or to Jenna, or to Austin for the moment, or myself, and we will take a look at those and get them back to you as soon as we can. And just one last reminder, I know you guys are sick of hearing it, but the resume cafes are required for this class. You either have to attend physically in person or attend virtually. So, like I said, if you've got any questions, let me know.